time for you to know and for us to start our show. Have a drink and take a seat here on Brewsic and Boozies.
And Christopher. Welcome to this week's episode of Brewsic and Boozies. Oh yeah. Doing a little happy dance.
Here on Brewsic and Boozies.
We're gonna sing our we have a theme song now, yes. This is something we have not called out in the last couple episodes, but we do have a theme song and it is catchy. Very catchy.
Very Dave.
Yes, our Dave Matthews obsession has flourished.
Yeah.
But this week we are talking about an animated classic, which may be only my opinion. I don't know if it's anyone else's opinion. But we are talking about The Great Mouse Detective, which growing up I thought was called The Great Mouse Detectives with like a plural. And then as I got older, I realized it was detective because Basil is the Great Mouse Detective. And I was like, oh, I was wrong. Mind blown. But I do have there goes my microphone.
Good catch.
I do have my Basil of Baker Street t-shirt on today because
I love it. I love that shirt.
Is one of, I think it says 220. Yep, 221 and a half Baker Street at the bottom. This was one of my favorite Disney movies when I was a kid. I loved it. I don't know why. I just loved this movie, and it didn't even come out when we were kids. It came out in the 80s, like the mid 80s. So I don't even know how. Probably because my dad or my parents were into it. I don't know. I don't even know how it like fell onto my family's radar because it's not necessarily. It was made in a time where Disney wasn't doing well with movies. Like they had struck out. Like they did Fox and the Hound, and it did okay. And then Black Cauldron didn't do so hot. I think they fired a bunch of executives after that one. So it's interesting that I grew up loving a film that really wasn't like wildly loved. Like I think people liked it, but in a time where Disney wasn't making movies that were like hits. I still have the VHS, I think too. And I have another really quick story. So I absolutely loved the dog in the movie Toby when I was a kid. All I wanted was to name my dog Toby. I wanted a dog. I wanted to name it Toby. Didn't care what dog it was. Just wanted to name it Toby. Then my family got a female dog. And I was like, well, now I can't name the dog Toby. Why have you done this to me? I clearly still have not gotten over it. But one day in my life, I'll have a dog and I'll name it Toby.
We'll be rooting for you on that one.
Yes, please. What about you, Chris? Did you grow up loving this movie like I did?
Yeah, obsessed. And I want to say, okay, so I have the earliest memory watching it when I was very little. We have it on a VHS tape that's not the actual VHS tape because we used to just basically make our own video copies back then.
You would record it from.
We got the double VCR trick. Yeah, yes. That was the way to do it. So we have a lot of movies on tape.
I have those too.
And it's great because it's like my mother's, handwriting, and I'm just like, well, we got to find this tape if we want to watch it with other groups of movies that you had to remember was on that tape. So
yeah, because tapes would be so long you could record multiple movies.
Right, it was like an 8-hour tape or however long.
So you had like multiple things on there.
Yeah, but it was a great way to. That's how I live my life mostly. Like when I was younger, that's why I'm obsessed with movies. Probably still to this day because I would watch movies either I was homesick, just to watch TV, and I would watch these tapes we had. They were like 3 or 4 movies back to back, and I would just binge watch movies in a day, and it's great. And I would love what I really would love about that too, that if it was on TV too, sometimes we record off the movies that were on TV. You get all those nostalgia commercials that are in between, like we'll
Yes.
be right back with your favorite Terminator or something. I don't know, but starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it was my favorite movie of ours that we owned, I think, that I would watch a lot. I just love the characters and the style of the movie. I guess, it's Disney,
Yeah.
and it deals with just humanistic characters that are animals. Again, that's Disney style, but it was very serious, and it scared me a lot as a kid. And I remember it scaring me, but in a good way. I don't know. I get scared very easily, if you haven't figured out by me now. But it was kind of like I said, I liked the darkness about it. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like I just remember the imagery being just kind of leaving a huge impression on me. And it was just like you just kind of like would always kind of be, you just come back to it to watch it more and more and more, because you just like the characters. And like I said, I love Toby and the dogs, and Basil and just everybody. And I think it was because it kind of took place in London. It was kind of, it had that kind of style as well. Maybe it was kind of something about that. I think I enjoyed.
They embodied this sort of like murky, dark, seedy undertone to London, which fit the movie so well. And I think that's why as kids we like felt that tone and were scared of it, because they really did a good job with that like seediness that they were trying to capture. I mean, you could see that like in the movie, in certain scenes, and why it was scary, because they got that like seediness really down packed.
Yeah, like they definitely did not downplay the kids for this one. That's for sure.
No, definitely not. And I think I don't remember the Black Cauldron at all. But I think I don't remember it. But I think even the Fox and the Hound like had this kind of darkness to it. It wasn't necessarily for children. I think the themes in Fox and the Hound were very adult. And I think this was a time of Disney that they kind of did do that a little bit. Like they went a little bit darker than like Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. So they went that way. And as I don't think the audience at the time really respected that. And I think that's why movies like this didn't do super well until the Disney Renaissance, when they really were big hits.
Right. So
I have a huge argument that I'm going to make, but I'm going to save it for a little bit. I'm going to save it.
Okay, remind me.
I will.
About the story or just the movie being made in general?
The movie being made in general. We could talk about it before we dive into the movie. But
Gotcha.
Say what you were going to say first.
No, I think I just wrapped up basically what I said. It's just that it definitely left a big place in my heart. Maybe this ties in later to, we're going to talk about the music, but something about, if I found anything connected to this movie, I was somewhat obsessed with it. So like in any Disney, if I saw something that had the Great Mouse Detective with it, or there was Disney selling something else they just had it around, I was like, oh my God. But that was me with everything. That was something I loved. So, but yeah, it always excited me to see that. And you know what? This movie is just so cool. It was just like a cool movie for a kid to watch. And yeah, it's a great story. So that's it.
I mean, I guess briefly, like, so at the time, I think, do you remember American Tail at all? Feifel?
Never seen it. Never seen it though.
Out there. So that came out, I think, around the same time as this movie, maybe. Also, I am not convinced that song I just sang is from Feifel. It might be. I don't really remember the movie, but it's just so weird that like how different companies make movies that are very like, they're not super similar, but they're very period specific with mice. Yeah, I also think Anastasia came out close to when this movie came out, maybe.
Is that Disney though?
No, Anastasia's 20th Century Fox. But that bat character, very similar to someone else in this movie.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's not the argument I'm making though. Before I get into my argument, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Oh yes.
I have here.
I was gonna say, you want to go first. No, because mine is not exciting at all. So I want to know what you have.
I have from Six Harbor Brewing Company in Huntington, New York. It is the Triple B IPA. It is delicious. It is 11% alcohol.
So we're going to see a very interesting viewpoint later
I
during this
went to
recording.
I went to this brewery over the weekend and I had one of these and I loved it. And I bought a 6-pack and
Yeah.
oh boy, because they don't distribute nationally, which is very sad. So if you're ever in the New York area, I suggest stopping by this place. This is a very good IPA. Very strong. Very,
Now
very
back to
strong.
me. No, okay.
What are you drinking?
That looks amazing. I would definitely like to try that. So this is actually something more original. This is my hazelnut creme coffee with now instead of last week, this week I have the same thing. I have Evan Williams. I made the exact same drink from last week because I have to finish that bottle eventually.
Wait, what was it? Because I keep forgetting
It's
whatever you were drinking.
Evan Williams. I call it E-dubs or EW. Okay. Evan Williams, yeah, gives it a little, it goes well with coffee. I recommend it in coffee. I mean, it goes well with anything. You can have it just neat or on the rocks if you want to sound fancy.
An Irish coffee in honor of.
Yeah, it's just, I like it. Just, it is a little bit of sweetness to it. So I like it with coffee or tea. Sometimes it goes well. I've had it with cider, is not bad, but it's also, it's not the strongest thing. You can kind of have a decent amount of this, not feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's very soothing. I find it calming in a nice kind of feeling way. So
some scotches make me like shudder. Scotch
whiskeys,
they like,
ugh. Yeah, it kind of, sometimes it's like, I guess you're kind of feeling a little weak in the knees, I guess. I don't know. That's a good expression, but I just think that this is definitely a nice additional thing to add to your drink, your beverage of choice. So
I have to try it because you keep doing it and I gotta try it.
Bad. Yeah, definitely recommend it to you. So I got another stored away somewhere around here. So so there. All righty. So what's
my argument?
Your argument. I'm ready for this.
You might agree with me.
I
don't know.
Because I don't know what you're gonna say. So
you know what I'm gonna say or you don't know?
No, I said I don't.
Oh, okay. So I stand by this opinion 100% that if it had not been for the Great Mouse Detective, we would never have gotten movies from the Disney Renaissance. Ever.
Sure. Explain that further. I don't disagree, but I'm curious why you say that.
So this was a movie that, first of all, the director of The Great Mouse Detective directed The Little Mermaid, which was the very first Disney Renaissance movie in 1989. Great Mouse Detective was made in 1986. This was one of the first movies since early Disney movies that had any sort of music in it. Only has 3 songs, The Great Mouse Detective, 2 of which are sung by the villain, which is a very interesting concept. And while this movie flopped a little bit, it showed Disney that this formula that they had in this movie worked. You have music. They used new animation styles that they haven't used in the past, such as, and we'll talk about it when we get to that scene, but they did use computer-generated animation.
I was gonna ask if you knew if that was computer animated. I know what scene you're talking about because I saw that, and I keep thinking that every time I see it, I'm like, that I believe it is computer, but I would like to
when you watch
facts
it
too. Mm-hmm.
When you watch it to me, when I watch that scene, stick around if you want to know what scene we're talking about, though. It throws me to kind of that, like the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast, because you see that it's very quick moving, and animation isn't like hand-drawn animation isn't like fast moving and intricate. So you get that kind of stuff. Like it's more advanced. It has the music.
Yeah.
yeah, like I just think if it hadn't been for the idea of this movie and what it was trying to accomplish, then they wouldn't be able to be like, okay, we're gonna do a mermaid movie, we're gonna put music in it, we're gonna make it
So
underwater, which underwater is extremely hard to animate.
So I think your argument, and I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm trying to add on to this if I can, if I'm assuming here, is the fact that they have kind of reached a point in animation where they wanted to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of, and then bring back a renaissance, meaning they were kind of going back to the old fairy tale storytelling that they had originally done back in the day of the, I don't know what decade that was started, but you had your Snow Whites and your Sleeping Beauties, that kind of thing, and Cinderella's, and kind of recreate that magic in those animated movies. But then, like you said, bring back this new form of animation to give it a little fresher take, and then add like this new wave of music that you need to have a kind of mastermind composer and songwriter team to do that. So Menken. Okay. So yeah. So
yes, I mean, we could talk about Alan Menken all day.
But that's, I mean, I think, but I think I know where you're trying to get at with that argument.
Yeah.
Cool. I agree.
I think before I was like, when I was younger, I didn't really understand the leaps and bounds between this movie and then, not really the leaps and bounds, but like the connection between this movie and then like The Little Mermaid and like, and then even the Black Cauldron, like they fired people after the Black Cauldron. They were like, okay, you have failed us. Get out of here.
So it's basically like they had a movie and they wanted to get their bonus, so they get some other director to come in and take over the project because the other guy had to leave, and then later down the road that guy gets to make a 4-hour film.
Oh, sounds like something that we should be watching on HBO Max right now. You watched
anyways,
this,
no, I'm just that was my
Snyder
that was
cut.
my sorry, that was my one tangent joke of the night. But I agree with
that's
with
my argument. Yeah. I mean, especially the fact that they had the guy who directed this movie directed The Little Mermaid. He directed Aladdin, and even more recent movies like Moana. Like he knows what the audience kind of wants, and he knows this formula at this point so well. So yeah, that's my argument. And honestly, I'm upset that Henry Mancini, the composer for this movie, didn't do more Disney movies. He did The Black Cauldron, I think, and he did this. And honestly, he came from the 70s, which is a very distinct sound in my opinion. I know you're more of a musician than I am, but when you listen to this, it's like some of the soundtrack is very 70s, and you can hear his like 70s vibe and his like 70s television experience in it. But I would have liked to see him do more. He never did another Disney animated movie after this one.
I think, as you just pointed out, they were trying to get away from maybe older things and enter new new formulas and new styles of music writing for scoring movies for Disney. Like I said, I don't know enough about it. I'd have to research it, but I can tell you from just this movie alone is that whatever style they were going for this movie, clearly this guy captured it. Like he knew exactly what worked for this movie. And I think I get excited. I know this is tying in probably to what we're going to talk about, just kind of the opening start of this movie with the music.
Let's dive right into the opening.
Yeah. So
I really want
just
to talk
hearing, does it start out with the kidnapping of Olivia's father, I believe, right? There's just that.
Yeah.
And just the setup of this movie is it's just like a regular movie, it's like very much like, I like when movies do this thing where it's like you get a scene, tells you exactly what's going on right away, like you dive right into the story of like something bad just happened, and and then they do this cut to this cool opening title, like you're in for more fun. And it's just like, I love when you hear that I get joyful. Now,
Yeah.
why that's so cool, I don't know. Who invented that? I don't know. But I know I've heard it in a bunch of other scores. I could tell you that's kind of similar
Mhm.
like that. I can give you one other Disney movie that kind of does that.
What?
Um,
Tell me.
here's a good
Enlighten
example.
me.
Let's talk about our biggest favorite, Beauty and the Beast. Has that kind of similar style
Ah.
writing when she's walking around because like it's very light and it's very kind of
Yeah.
fun. It's musical type of writing, I think. But it's really that's also score writing. I don't know if you want to call it either one, but
Mhm.
I musically speaking, I'm not like when I was thinking about it the other day, I'm like, what does that kind of remind me of? That's what I kind of get drawn into right
Mhm.
away, hearing that kind of thing. Um, and uh, and then you get that awesome kind of horn section that goes over that. I can't sing it back, but it'd be great
I
to
know. I
play
was
it.
gonna say. I was
Can we just
before
play it?
we started recording. I
Maybe
was
we
like,
can
I
edit in
can't
there.
sing it. Insert music here. There you go.
Something like that. That was my best
No,
impression
that's
of that.
perfect. I
So, but
want
I
to be able
love
to
that
do it.
line where you have this bounciness and it's kind of very fun. I just love that. It just like, hits me every time. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Ugh." And you see that
It,
great mouse stick. I'm like, "Ugh." I get
mhm.
pumped.
I remember
So
being a
cool.
kid and watching it. That's what it is too. Like it brings me back to being a kid and loving this movie and like sitting
Yeah.
there as a kid and hearing it.
There's something about that type of what I just explained, whatever you call that
The
movement
bounciness.
or whatever. I think that it kind of excites a
Mhm.
child's whatever, just like it kind of electrifies us. It's electrifying.
It's probably like kids recognize rhythm at a very young age, right? So they
Yeah, I think you're right.
probably
Yeah.
recognize that rhythm that goes along with that, and it
But it almost made me like the
gets you
movie's
going.
starting. Everybody sit down.
Yes, yes.
Everybody come on in. Like I don't know.
Especially
I kind of
after
like that.
so the opening scene we didn't really dive into how it terrified me as a kid. It was scary. Like
Yeah.
so Olivia and her father, um, who I'm going to mention it here before we bring it up later in the show, is he is the voice of Scrooge McDuck in Mickey's Christmas Carol. I
Alan Young, I believe is his name.
perhaps
Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck is what I'm going to call him because I am a huge. I don't know why I love Scrooge McDuck so much. He is like one of my favorite Disney characters.
Talking about he's
I
great.
I just love him. I'm not a huge DuckTales fan either, so I don't know why I love Scrooge McDuck.
I don't remember it that
But
much, but it's a fun show.
I've watched the new iteration of it because I love David Tennant, so and I like his Scrooge McDuck. But anyway, whatever.
Gotcha.
He is Scrooge McDuck, but I think only specifically in the Mickey's Christmas Carol. I don't think he does Scrooge McDuck any other time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's possible. I think he was one of the older actors for Disney, and I know he did that voice. But no, yeah,
And he sounds like him in this
he's
movie.
very you recognize that voice very
Yes.
clearly, and I think us as older as you know as we got older, we can be like, oh, that's just Scrooge McDuck. It's like as a kid, you're just like, I know that voice, but I don't know if I could tell right away. That's why I know it from there. It's Disney voices that you start hearing and recognizing. So yeah.
So it opens with them, and he makes her a toy, and it's like a beautiful toy. This like flower opens, and there's like a
Oh, that
dancer
was so
inside.
cool. Because I have a crazy theory here, and this within the scene, so I'm not going too off tangent, that he was actually the great great grandfather of Tony Stark, because I think that was nanotech that he was making right there.
With Disney.
Comes full circle with Disney.
I choked on my drink a little bit because of what you just said. Comes full circle. Disney comes full circle. It's all intertwined. We can come up with fan theories.
His real name was Tony Flavisham. No, I just remember seeing that recently. I was just rewatching the film for the show, and I'm like, I love how that thing just kind of is a shell, and then it just does this like it just becomes a person. It's so pretty. And I'm thinking like, what are the physics on that? I know it's animated. I know it's a cartoon. I'm like, that's
Never
nanotech.
Even
So,
the
no wonder why.
dancer, because like later doesn't
He
Radigan
squeezes
crush
it.
it?
Yeah, he
and it's like
crushes it, and the
the
head
physics
pops
of
off.
the dancer. It just doesn't make sense to me how that fluid the dancer is.
Don't care. It was the coolest toy he made for his daughter. How sweet,
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
awesome. It was sweet, and then the whole scene is ruined because
Love it.
Fidget, his name's Fidget.
Fidget.
Fidget
Fidget
comes
the bat.
and
Mhm.
steals him away, and she hides in a closet, I believe, right?
Yeah. The funny
It was
thing is he has a
scary.
peg leg, yet he has wings.
I have a theory. I have a theory about that. I'm gonna bring it
Okay.
up when we're
Interesting.
further down the movie line, but I have a
Okay.
theory.
Maybe he
And
needs the balance of the peg leg to get around. I don't know. Maybe
No?
something like that. No, not even.
Should I say
Okay,
it?
okay. I'll leave it to your theory.
Let's leave it.
I'm
Let's leave
jumping
it. Let's
ahead.
leave it. We'll bring it up.
But Fidget. Okay, so this also scared me as a
My
kid
mic again.
because it is scary. It's very scary. You see, you know,
Terrifying.
a sound at the doorknob shakes. You don't know what it is, and it's literally, you know, someone breaking into their home, and it was a
Mhm.
bat. You know, for
Bat.
them. So this is also what I thought. I thought that bat was way bigger in the beginning of that movie. Did you ever think that?
Yes.
Wow, it's
And
the
then when he's with
shadowing.
Radigan, he's like tiny, and I'm like, that's not
Yeah, something
small.
about the size. Well, Radigan is much bigger than them, size wise.
Rat's bigger than a bat.
Still, the bat with him, I could see Olivia. They're kind of close in size, but I remember the bat almost looking double in size when he takes Olivia's dad. So that was, I remember being more scared that that's what the actual size of him was, and then me as a kid just trying to piece together, oh, you know, he shrunk for the movie or something, you know. That was kind of my, I guess, logic behind that. I don't know, but that's that was, yeah, that's not my top
Maybe because like that
scary scene, but that was definitely one. I remember being really petrified from that scene.
Not as scary as other scenes in the movie, but that scene was pretty scary because like
It's
you
intense.
said the bat
It's
comes
intense.
into their
almost
house.
traumatic.
Yeah, but then that's why I think the music does that like bouncy thing after, because it needs to bring the kids back.
I was gonna say,
like, this movie isn't traumatic. Like, it's a kids movie.
I think
Here we go.
I think
here comes our heroes. They're coming.
that's really what it is. I think, and I think you nailed it on the head. That's the point of that score too, is to it's relief for what you just saw, where it's like, you know, they could do some kind of Lord of the Rings opening where it's like, and it's just like creepy,
terrifying.
like the Great Mouse Detective, you know. But I think you're right. It's to calm the kids down. It's just for now. Just wait. We got the rest of the movie to figure this out. Don't worry.
Yeah, because I remember being scared, but then I don't. It's not like I was scared and I hate this movie. I was scared and the heroes are what saved this movie for me, because they wrote me in. And I want to see this mystery solved. Because it's like a buddy cop movie. It's happy. It's not really traumatizing.
Yeah, it's Sherlock Holmes, and that's the original buddy cop. Yeah, of course.
Sherlock Holmes, the original buddy cop. Don't quote us on that.
But Charles Dickens, right? Wrote Sherlock Holmes.
I don't.
Oh my God, no, maybe not. I'm sorry. I'm just like, no.
To be honest, I'm a huge like cinematic Sherlock Holmes fan, but I'm not a huge literature Sherlock
someone who watches this is going to correct me about a couple days, so don't worry about it.
Please let us know who wrote Sherlock Holmes, because we clearly don't know.
Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments, and then just put a big L right on my head. No.
It's definitely not Charles Dickens. I'm going to say that right now.
I didn't think so. All right.
He wrote Christmas Carol.
But that was what I'm saying. I'm big Christmas Carol. Sorry. Scrooge McDuck kind of thing.
And David Copperfield, if anyone is a fan of David Copperfield. Anyway.
I am. I love all his tricks. But yeah, so that was probably the point of that. What's the next scene after that, I think, is the
that's when Olivia meets Dawson.
Yes. So we introduced to
Who
Dawson and pretty much Sherlock Holmes. So this kind of ties in.
Yes, and meets Basil at one point. But Dawson plays the oh my God. Why is my brain dead? Watson. He's the Watson of the story. Thank you. And the reveal of Basil, of our Sherlock Holmes. He just kind of waltzes in and he's in disguise, and it's pretty funny that he's in disguise and he just comes in. And he has no interest in this girl. No interest in Olivia at all, which I always think is hilarious that he does not care. He just wants to catch. He has one goal in life, which is much like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes' greatest nemesis is Moriarty.
Right.
And in this movie, Basil's greatest nemesis is Ratigan. So he just only wants to catch Ratigan. And I love that he has, I don't know if you ever noticed, you probably have because they call attention to it in the movie, but he has a portrait of Ratigan on his fireplace above his mantle. It's hilarious. It's like, this is his only goal in life. Like, this is the only thing that matters to him. And then this girl comes to him asking him for help, and he only cares because it is connected to Ratigan somehow.
Small world in London.
She brings up the bat, and then he's like, hey.
Oh, that's one of my favorite lines too. Can I quote that one?
Yes, of course.
Don't know, but he had a peg leg.
I do love it when she says that. Crumpets. So that also freaked me out. He comes in, he has that the fake mouse or whatever the heck he was supposed to be in the robe, and he's in disguise.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
And he comes in, he's like,
there.
And like the lightning storm behind him, but it's like,
yes,
so funny though too. Now watching it now,
it's such a great reveal.
But yeah, and then you're just like, oh, thank God he's not really that guy.
Well, because so to me, Sherlock Holmes is always, he's a hero. He does help people in a way, but he always has these flaws that kind of make him unlikable.
Yeah, he's very guarded, and he's not.
Yes,
he's not a warm cup of tea, pun intended. But yeah.
No, go ahead.
What were you gonna say? No, I was gonna say he's always obsessed with his work, and he kind of he's obsessed, and he's not a people person.
No.
Or a mouse person. Or a mouse.
No. And it's great because like by the end of the movie, he really warms up. He becomes he loves Olivia, he loves children, he loves Dawson, that he even voluntarily is like
kind of like another movie we mentioned where they throw kids in there, but the one guy doesn't like kids, but then at the very end he has a heart for kids.
Oh, we're talking about Jurassic Park.
Actually, no, I was talking about the Santa Claus. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Jurassic Park.
I will link that video.
Yes.
If you're watching this on YouTube, I will link that video. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of like Jurassic Park. He really doesn't like kids. It's like, I don't know Sherlock Holmes to have ever liked or disliked kids, but
no, it's part of his character trait.
It gives him a place to grow other than just people person. Like, it gives him more to grow there, and like, yeah. I feel like correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
The Ratigan song, is it before or after this scene?
Okay, so it's kind of, I believe it's transitional, meaning it goes into that and then it comes back out of it back into Basil's house. Because remember, he smiles and then it transitions back to the painting. Yeah.
Gotcha. I think
does that make sense? Right. So like
sense.
So he's mentioning about him, and then they cut to actually him, what's going on present, and his plan to kidnap the queen and things like that have all moused him. And then they sing basically Gaston, but for a rat. And then
I'm glad you said that. Can we please talk about? Okay, let's talk about Ratigan.
It's really the only song in the movie that. Oh, sorry, I apologize. It's one of the only two songs in the movie that's actually lyrical and sing along.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I mean, that other song that I could give or take, the one in the CD bar.
Oh, I love that song. It's great though.
To me, they were.
It's not great, but it's
well.
Great.
We could talk. We could talk about it when we get to it, but
not as great as the mouse But yeah,
It's
it's
so
good.
weird that they gave the two great songs in this movie to the villain,
Yeah.
to Vincent Price too. Like it's just
Well,
brilliant.
because they're probably
Um,
like Vincent Price. He's a singer, and sort of.
yeah, sort of, kind
He's
of,
known for doing voice singing acting, I guess.
yeah, yeah.
Or
He
like
also
he's done
really
that.
wanted to do this movie. Like he really
That's
wanted to do
awesome.
this. So
I enjoy him, what he did. So
as do I.
yeah.
We just watched the Muppets because it's on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, did you see that
I think he had an
episode too?
episode, and the Vincent Price
It's
episode is.
Yeah, I really feel like he was doing that, and then years later, you did that. Can you do this?
Yeah, like that's his. I feel like that's his MO. He's like, well,
Anything,
I'm the master of
yes. I think I'm
cars,
going to
but
do
now I can do
this.
this.
I don't know. That your impression was better.
No, it's not.
I've done the Muppets and now I'm going to I can't do it. He just has this, I don't know. That's not how he talks really at all, too. That's how Radican talks to me.
I mean, it's the same thing. Anyway.
But yeah. So that song happens.
We were talking about Radigan's song, yes.
Yeah.
It's
and it's a very much like Gaston.
so much like Gaston.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why, again, going back to my argument that this ushered in the Disney Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got all those beats that we see later on down the road in those movies. That makes sense. Like this is telling about a villain, then they do a song, and I'm pretty sure that happens almost identical in Beauty and the Beast. So pretty much just almost the same.
Much.
So there's a formula B right there.
I don't think there's a single Disney Renaissance movie, and then after that, a movie where they do music where the villain doesn't really have a.
It's really basic
song that
villain storytelling. Yeah, that it's just like, okay, talk about the villain because this is like where you want to place it in storytelling, but that means we get to also do a song number for him.
Yes.
Say how great he is, or how bad he is. So
yeah. I just love also that he is very clearly a rat. He wants to be the king of all the mice. But he is
all
very
moused
clearly all moused, but he is very clearly a rat. And also there's a lizard in there for some reason. I don't know why. There's a lizard.
I was looking up with that lizard because he's from another movie. I think it's maybe The Black Cauldron.
Oh, is he?
Something else. And they threw him in there. I'm sure not the same name character, but he's one of those they just kind of brought him in. See if anyone noticed him.
The same kind of.
Yeah, or he's pretty much the same. I remember because if you really want to see some of my artwork, there's that Spider-Man Disney crossover I did. And I don't know if you remember that, where I used different Disney characters as the kind of the outline of, and then I meshed them with, hey, stay right there. Hold on. I got it right here.
I remember you doing it, but I don't remember that character specifically.
Bear with me for 1 second. I'll
those
show
of
the
you
world.
Watching and listening, we will link this Instagram post.
It's really, well, it's only for this particular, so I don't know if you could see that. Sorry, the reflection there. See the lizard guy right there?
Yes.
Does he look kind of familiar? So that's my Spider-Man take. That's like in the middle. That's Tarzan's body. And these are all different. See if I can make this bigger. I don't know. It's hard. And like that's Cogsworth as
like Cogsworth as the human,
as a Doc Ock, and then you got like the guy from Tarzan as like Craven. You see, I don't know if you can see what I was trying to do. And if you really want to look close, like our favorite character from Spider-Man, this ties into last week's episode. That's Peter Pan as Green Goblin. It's hard to tell, but yeah. So this is because I don't have a life, but it's helpful. It's helpful for people who want to realize that.
Want to realize that we don't have lives.
Yes. No, it was fun. It was a fun project I was experimenting with taking, and I've done the same thing for Batman as well, if you don't remember.
It's
and
worth
if you don't
noting
remember, it's right here. So
Chris and I are both artists.
So anyways, that was
as
my
well.
digression.
So we do a lot of this. We both equally don't have any lives.
More like Photosharpists, shoppers.
Photosharpists. We're artists. There's no such thing as Photosharpists. Anyway, where were we? So,
But yeah, it's
Radigan song. It's great. It's catchy. You have that one really drunk.
Yeah, and it's
mouse.
like I said. So this is what I wanted to say about that. You just remind me. So I was obsessed with seeing this song on a VHS tape that I think was in my grandmother's house, probably from my cousins or something. But it had those sing-along tapes. Did you ever own those?
Yes, I still have them on VHS.
Did you have the one for this for Radigan?
No, I don't.
And it does like the sing-along. So I don't remember. I think it's the Be Our Guest one. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, maybe I do. I think I do have that one actually.
I think I want to say, because I remember watching the Radigan song and then the Be Our Guest one a lot. I could, unless I'm confusing it with another tape, but it's very possible. I remember watching and singing the Radigan, somewhere around there. So and from those sing-along songs, because I'd fast forward through other ones and then just want to watch that one over and over again. So that's my Radigan song story.
I'm going to find it now, because I think I do have the Be Our Guest one.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I mean,
see if it's that one.
Disney put out VHS tapes that had their, like, for those of you who don't know, put out VHS tapes that had their, like, most popular songs, and they would, like, stick a couple of them on one VHS, and they would just do the lyrics. It's basically like karaoke sing along for kids.
Yeah.
They would have like a bouncy Mickey head over the lyrics as the scene from the actual movie was playing. They're really great. Forgotten classics.
It is really great.
Yeah.
They try to bring it back during our unprecedented times. I think they try to do that for Disney.
Yeah, the Disney sing along. Yeah.
It was a good try. Yeah.
It was a good try.
A good try. I did. It was nothing much else to do, so I was interested. But yeah. So what was the next thing that came up? I think was it the toy store.
No, I mean, because briefly, I just wanted to talk about my baby angel Toby. Because the next thing we
missed Toby. That's all right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know we wanted to get to the toy store, but I'm thinking there's something big we're missing.
I don't have much to say. I don't know about you, but I don't have much to say about that other than.
Oh, come on. If you had a dog that big named Toby, you just would be.
He melts your heart.
So cool.
Is so happy and adorable. He's just like.
The name is just something fun to say. Just to say.
Toby. I love it.
Okay, all right, we'll do our best saying Toby impression. And you could say, who would you pick? I know we're supposed to probably leave this at the end, but I don't care. We're talking about it now. So
fine. So in the movie, Olivia is like Toby's best friend. So I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Who's Toby?
That's pretty good. But I just when he goes, Toby.
And Basil.
I just have Basil says Toby. And
that's
then she goes,
so great,
sit, Toby. I love that.
Sit, Toby.
Oh, good doggy. Good doggy. So cute.
Because Basil's so confident that he's like, this is my dog. And then like Olivia comes
along. I know, but
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's what's so cool. I love something about mice having a friendship or ownership of an animal much bigger than him. Yeah, and it's like it's really cool. I love that in any movie where they have like a giant like pet. It's so fun.
Yeah, So I mean, it's not the only giant animal we have in this movie. There's also that cat, and I can't remember the cat's name, but it's like a big giant cat.
Felicia, I think.
Felicia, maybe, and it eats mice.
Yeah.
I don't know if. Okay, so let's talk about the toy store scene, and then we can, because I want to talk about that giant cat.
You mean the cat during the Radigan scene? Yeah, you just remember you meet the cat in the Radigan scene. I
It's
thought,
after
oh,
the
because
toy store because remember, Fidget doesn't get the girl, and Radigan gets mad. And
no, it's before that
no,
because
it's
there's that
not.
drunk mouse. There's that drunk mouse singing Radigan,
You're right.
and
You're
he
right.
gets taken out, which is pretty dark, by the way, to watch this thing eat this thing, and
Because it eats the guy.
he
I
eats
would think
him,
it's gonna
and
spit
there's
it out.
no, and even the lizard guy, he takes his hat off, and they like have a tear going down their eye. It's pretty dark, but it's also just like, don't mess with Radigan. He'll feed you to his really big cat.
I mean, he's all talk though. Like he doesn't do anything. Like he feeds him the cat. Like he doesn't.
So yeah,
He's no threat really because unless he has that cat, nothing. Anyway,
I know.
the toy store scene.
Yes.
I know we both agree that it is terrifying when they go to that toy store.
Oh yeah, it's scary.
The perspective and the coloring of that scene is just so dark, and
Very dark.
everything is
Yeah.
shot from. They do a really good job getting the perspective of a mouse from below the toys. So like all the toys are shot from below, and they're like all have these like elongated faces because the mice are supposed to be below them.
But they
for some reason
they scared that up for us with those scary faces and like creepy clowns, and like they try to make it look kind of horror elements.
Picked, like scary looking toys and like
have you ever seen you've seen the original? I would love to do an episode on this. I don't know if there's really much music to it, even though I do like the music in it, more score. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the original.
Yes, I mean that's what I was thinking of when I was watching this scene because
that perspective reminds me of that kind of them looking up at the house and the grass. It has that kind of same, like they're very tiny, and it's just probably a perspective visual thing that I'm sure animators or directors would just kind of have that style of knowing what to do. But for us, the viewer, it's just like, it's creepy,
Yeah.
It puts us in those characters' feet, in their shoes.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. Like you can feel how it's world building in a way because you feel how overwhelming like it is to be that small. And to me that's scary because like you're tiny. Like you're smaller than these toys. Like how small is that mouse? Yeah. Compared to everything else.
It's a dark movie for sure. We keep reminding everybody, it's a dark movie, but it's not to the point where I think they take it too far. Maybe the cat scene and some other things nowadays may get a little bit more backlash. I don't know, maybe not.
I think of like the dark tone also comes from the fact that this whole movie takes place at night.
Yeah.
There's no daytime scenes, and I think that's also what gives it that like seedy dark tone is that it's all done at night with the fog. There's no
I think
daylight.
It's also part of the homage of the Sherlock Holmes storytelling.
Yeah,
that I think probably deals with that, just scary, dark, and mystery solving kind of look. It's cool. I like it.
I agree. I think it's all. It really shows in this toy store scene too.
Yeah, and then that
all
scene
of those
where
things you really feel it.
Even that baby doll, like just standing there. Very
the
creepy.
Jack in the Box.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Fidget just jumping out of that carriage. Oh man, that's freaky.
Every time, even as an adult, I'm like,
I watched it the other day. It made me jump a little bit. It was not. It's pretty freaky. I don't know how that stuff. It probably scared me, but not to the point I was like having nightmares or running out of the room. It was just like to the point where I'm like, I don't know. I got through it, and I just liked knowing what's going to come ahead of that. And maybe I was watching it with somebody else and didn't feel afraid. I don't know. Like I want to know what was causing me to not, freak out during those scenes.
I think it did a really good job as a kid, even of making you want to find the answer to this mystery. Like it did a great job. Like, oh my God, this is scary, but like, I want to know if he figures it out.
Yeah.
Like, does he get Radigan? Does she find her father? Like, you want to know if this story wraps up happy or not. And even as a kid, I think it really that resonates with you over the fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's there to kind of support you as it's kind of scaring you.
Yes,
through
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
It's a ride. Yeah,
Yeah.
And it does a great job.
I like that you said that it supports you because I think that it does. And then also like, I think the music does a really good job again of supporting you.
There's relief music in it. It kind of comes back, and then it's like they throw a joke here and there to kind of get you through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe that leads us to the bar scene, which is hysterical within itself, I believe. Well, actually,
Wait,
even better,
before we talk
the
about
experiment to get to the bar, you may want to talk about. Him figuring out how to get to the bar by the docks.
I don't. You talk about that, but before you talk about that,
yep, sure.
I want to talk about the fidget when he goes back to Radigan and he's like, "I didn't get the girl," and he feeds him to the cat.
Yeah.
This goes to my theory about why he has a peg leg and can't fly. I think
the cat ate him. Probably.
I think the cat. This isn't the first time the cat chewed on him. And his wings are messed up because the cat is.
Yeah, you see his wings get chewed up. Yeah, and I think I didn't notice. Like I knew something was up, but I didn't realize like it's because of the cat ate it or chewed on it. Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's pretty dark. Yeah,
I think that's why. Weird. I think like this is like Radigan's like scare tactic. Like he just feeds them to the cat and has the cat gnaw on them and then spits them out. And I think that's definitely why he's like, I can't fly because his wings are all messed up from like being chewed on. And that's probably why he lost his leg. Like this poor bat has just been abused by Radigan.
It's a theory. I believe it. You know, they never tell you. It's part of his character trait. And I think also it just helps the mystery be solved. Like, okay, we gotta give him something like a lost limb or a lost wing, probably. Because every great detective movie, I think, or story usually has some kind of villain with that kind of henchman that has some kind of missing body part that's easy to identify right away. Yeah. Don't know, but you had a peg leg. That was more like Mrs. Doubtfire, but I can't do.
Yeah, I feel like your Irish accent is a lot.
No, it is. She just has a cute little squeaky mouse voice, and I'm just like, yeah, she has a peg leg. It's more like Harrison Ford.
That's my theory, though.
Mm-hmm.
Bar scene. Let's move on. But no, you had to say something before we talk.
No, I love that. I do love that. Something about him discovering, like, what he's doing that experiment with the paper of the list. Do you remember? And he mashes it up, and he's like, I'm like, I don't know. As a kid, I always thought that was kind of interesting. Like you're just making something cool, and then it started glowing lights. I always thought that was kind of fun, not knowing actually whatever it meant. And then I just remember him throwing the dart at the board or whatever, and he's like, here. Something about that just seemed cool to me as a kid. Don't know why. I just think the colors and the actions of it in the animation. I love him. She's like, come on, yes, come on. Yeah.
And he's like following it.
Yeah. I love when he's like, he gets into it. I just love Basil. So it's just like great when he's getting into it. And just having having all that knowledge that he probably could have figured out from something else. But it was just really funny. That's what I love about detective movies too, like how over the top they can do to find out something when it's probably like a much easier solution to find out something. And like they're like, well, I could see this, and that means that, and that. And it's just like, yeah, but have you realized that place is around the corner? I don't know. I'm making that up, but it's some kind of like extravagant thing they do.
So with Sherlock Holmes, with this movie, Sherlock Holmes, I guess specifically, they always say that he uses deductive reasoning. But he really uses inductive reasoning because he kind of doesn't. Yeah, he kind of like makes the way inside of the conclusion rather than the other way around, which they make you believe is true.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with like what you just said. Like, well, if you just looked at it this way, and it's probably because they make you seem like, oh, he's so smart because he did this, and this. But like,
and then
if he just looked at it this way,
and then I do love. So I might be skipping ahead, but like that leads them to the dock. That they get the clue to find Radigan from there. That he's over there because of the sewer. And he's like, I love Dawson accidentally gets drunk quickly because they drugged the drinks on them.
Yeah.
And he's so funny with that shirt that just doesn't fit him.
I know,
and he's
it
just trying to
doesn't
be like a
fit.
pirate.
He reminds me of Shmee. He reminds me of
Yeah,
Shmee.
I was gonna say that. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's exactly like Shmee. He
Like
looks just
Shmee,
like
yeah.
him. I wonder if that was homage to Shmee a little bit.
Oh, it could have been. Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. It could have been a stretch with that, but I love that they put him in that outfit. It's so funny.
And I love Basil's outfit with
Yeah.
he has like an eye patch and like a petticoat kind of thing going on. And it's just like it's so good. I love it. And he has like an accent. He puts on like an American accent for some weird reason.
Who does Basil?
Yeah, Basil has like not an English accent in that scene.
Oh no, but he has like a it's an accent, but it's like more like a what you call it accent. It's more like it's more dirty. What's the other? What am I trying to say? I don't know, but he's more like we need 2
I don't know. I don't want
points
to
here
pretend
for
like
me and my friend. It's more like a
it's
pirate.
more like
I don't. Yeah.
Bert from Mary Poppins. So it's
yeah,
like
it's whatever. Yeah. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, it's more like that. And he's just kind of like
grittier.
Yeah, where he's just not as elegant with his accent, and he's just kind of like putting on a character voice, which I don't know. I think that guy's so. Looking at now, how brilliant that actor is.
I don't know. I looked up.
I don't even know
his
him.
Credits, and I honestly don't know
so
who he
good.
is.
Yeah, like as a kid, we just don't even think about that stuff. We don't know about it, but as an adult, you think about like these actors who are just putting everything into these characters and making them come to life. I love that guy.
Like,
I mean, I don't know anything about him personally, but just as the acting and the character itself does a good job. So what else did I mention? Yeah, I mean, like I said, we try to talk about the music, and that scene has the bar saying, I love the piano, the stride piano guy playing, and I like
he's a lizard, I think, too.
Yeah. So me as a piano player, I always like hearing that part.
No, or is he an octopus? No, the guy juggling is an octopus.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, he's an octopus.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
A lot easier. And then they have all those weird animals and creatures come and do their acts, and they just boo them until we get to the very seductive mouse song.
Yeah, so
very Jessica Rabbit.
It's very. Thank you for saying that, because I agree. I was like, oh my god, this is, even though Roger Rabbit came out before this. Yes.
No. I think a year later.
87.
Maybe, or 80 something. No, it might be. It's after.
It's also very. I don't know her
2,
name.
I think, because I'm trying to think when Back to the Future 2 happened, because it's a Zemeckis movie, and I'm thinking, was that before the second movie or is it after the second movie? It's around that time, so I'll put it.
It's after, because Roger Rabbit shows up in Back to the Future 2 in the window.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that was the one in between Back to the Future 1 and 2. Okay, that makes sense.
No, wait, or maybe it was before, because that's why it showed up in the window.
Came before the chicken or the egg?
We
don't know.
But
yeah, so they and I was like, as a kid, I just thought it was kind of more adult theme, and I didn't think much of it. I just thought it was kind of funny. And
so you brought up Roger Rabbit. It reminded me of, I don't know if you ever seen Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Madonna's character.
Yeah, it's very much Madonna the mouse, that character.
Madonna the mouse. I don't know what year Dick Tracy came out.
Cocktail singer, kind of lounge singer that you would get. And
she's
more like,
I always thought she was going to be a main character, because to me that introduction made it seem like she was now going to be like a love interest, and I think it's just like a jaded cinema, like a movie goer, like you were like, oh, as an adult, at least, not a kid, I didn't have these thoughts, but this is now going to be like a love interest,
that kind of pattern of like, introduce this character, they're going to be a love interest or somebody that's like secretly working for the other side. I don't know, usually that's the case. It's a cliche kind of character, but
I mean, and that's Dick Tracy, and that's not necessarily Roger Rabbit, but it's kind of Roger Rabbit.
I think it was just kind of like, what would be funny here? Let's put another song quick in here.
Yeah.
And kind of shows the atmosphere. And then, but like, it's an important song because
did a good job showing the atmosphere.
It's really important because then you don't get Fidget singing it after, which is my favorite.
Also true. Which that voice actor, like,
Yeah,
I think
so good.
actually might sound like that in real life.
Probably.
Did we talk about? I think we talked about this. Like,
yeah, we were mentioning about it the other day
Yeah.
while we were discussing choosing this movie as the episode, and I was just like, he must, because he's so good, that voice, and I'm just like, that guy must just talk like that everywhere.
No,
Or-
yeah, I think
or did.
that
Who knows?
voice actor, like,
Still alive,
actually
I doubt it.
sounds similar. Well, did sound. I don't know how old he
But
is.
yeah.
If he's still alive. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make that claim. But yeah, I think he sounded.
Yeah, I mean, I love Fidget, so I just love when he's singing that, and it's just so funny how he's singing it to himself while he's like going back to the lair, trying to basically get Basil and Dawson to follow him, because we find out it's a trap.
It's a trap. The whole thing was a trap. I
Mhm.
love that too. And it's like, welcome.
Yeah.
Like, they knew, they planned, they made a banner.
Yeah, I know, it's so good, but it's like, it's brilliant because it's like, that was kind of Sherlock Holmesy of like, you get Basil is so ahead of
Yeah.
where he needs to be in the game, but he's always like 5 steps back, even
Yeah.
if he's thinking he's like
Yeah.
3 steps closer. And it's
Yep.
it's sad, but it's also just like, but that was always the dynamic of
Yes.
Sherlock Holmes and what's the actual Moriarty. So
Yeah.
you know,
That's- yeah.
it kind of goes back and forth, and that, you know, one just kind of comes over the other. And I didn't get that as much as a kid. I think I just thought like something about that kind of surprised me when I was like, oh man, he got caught. What's going on? Like, how that happened? He was ahead of the game, I thought, you know. And it's just like, man, Ratigan's just a smelly rat, you know.
I mean, he is smaller.
Yeah, but like, I know. But I'm like, he's just so evil, and it's just like, he's just really just powerful in that way. So as much as you hate him, and
Yeah.
just like, you really hate him, you really do. He's pretty great villain. He really does a good job making you not like him. He's pretty.
Yeah. To me, he reminds me a lot of from Pocahontas. What's his name?
Can't talk Pocahontas to me because I don't think I've seen it since it came out, and I don't remember any of it.
Radcliffe.
So
His name's Radcliffe. I don't know
There
why
you go.
he reminds me so much of that villain for some reason whenever I
Okay.
see him. They have like a similar body shape, but to me he reminds me of him.
I
But-
said, I think that's how Gru got invented, probably from
Oh,
Radigan's
he also has the
body.
same body shape as Gru, yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that today. I was like, kind of like Gru has a kind of big, despicable body. So
But also that claim that like all of this is mine. Like Radcliffe is more like always like, this is my land. This is my claim.
yeah,
All mine. To me, that was Radigan. Like, he was like, I'm the king of the mice. This is all mine. I'm gonna rule all of this. I have a claim. This is all what I deserve. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, you're a rat, first of all. So I don't know if you deserve that. These are
yeah,
mice.
rat, you don't
The
deserve
queen
that.
is a mice. I don't know. There's lizards here for whatever reason. And octopi in this world that are as small as a mouse. I don't know.
That's all you need for this movie. It's what they wanted to call the Great Octopi.
Great octopi detective.
Yeah. Can you imagine just underwater, like,
They couldn't animate water back then though, so don't say that.
no, they could.
1989 is when they really got the water.
Mhm. Mm.
But yeah, can we talk about the song?
Yeah, sure.
Goodbye so soon. I don't know the words.
Goodbye so soon. I don't know any of the words. Goodbye. You're gonna die. Basil.
so-
I don't know. I forget the words too,
It's
because it's hard to
so-
hear with it like literally like
Yeah.
being on in the background, and you're
Yeah.
like kind of focused in on what's actually
You're
happening.
not
It's like they're
supposed
gonna
to focus on it.
yeah. No, it's just it's
just,
really
it's
funny.
not a performance. It's just like background music, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, but like you listen to it, it's hysterical. Yeah, and no, I mean hysterical. It's funny what he's actually saying to them. Like, I'm gonna kill you. Goodbye. And it's just like,
It's
yeah,
great.
that trap is amazing.
Oh
Whoever
my god, he
thought of doing that. So
shot by
funny.
a gun,
Yeah.
killed by a mousetrap.
Mm-hmm.
There was like an
There's
anvil.
an axe.
They were going to be crushed by an axe
anvil.
too. Anvil and an axe, and then an axe shot by an arrow.
Wait. I think what helps is do the sound effects, because he talks about the sound effects.
You do it because I don't know it. I know you do.
It was like bing, boom, boom, splat, or something like. He goes like chop, splat. And I love when he does that. And he explains what's going to happen to him 5 different ways, or 4, or whatever the different weapons he's using. And then he has a camera take pictures.
There's the camera because he's like he said he was 15 minutes late, right? So he's gonna miss his death.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, he's gonna take a picture of it.
But it's such a cliche villain thing. Like, let me plan this trap
cliche
to see how you can escape from this one, just to mess with you. But I'm hoping you don't make it out of this. But
I know, cliche. Like, that's so cliche villain. It's like, I set this up, you're gonna die. But like, we know, like, that's not gonna happen. Like, we know they're gonna get
it's
out.
like, you can argue it's like, yeah, it's Basil who gets them to escape from that trap, but it's also like Dawson is the mind of reason with him, and he gives him that idea, and it's so great. I love that. And how he's just like, you know what? Forget it. Just set it off now. He gets angry with him, and he's just like, set it off now. Set it off now. Yes. Set it off now. I love when I get so excited.
Yeah.
Okay, Dawson, on my account, and we're going to ready. Even like as a kid, I never understood like what he was trying to. I always thought it was like a big button, and I'm thinking like now, oh, it's the mousetrap. Like, that's what's gonna set it off. So.
Oh no,
yeah,
no! I
so
love that you said that
too,
he's
how
the
he gets
voice
out of
of
that.
reason. I never, honestly, even now, I never made that connection. Like, he's the
sort
one
of, in the sense that like maybe it's
always,
more
though.
unintentional, but like how he's just like, he tells him off, and he's like, you know what? And just if you're gonna just moan and and complain about it, that you've lost to this.
Yeah, he's like so
because he has such an ego.
The only thing he ever, that's what it is. Like Sherlock Holmes always has that ego.
Yeah, and that's the point, and how Watson's kind of that mind of reason for him, and just to kind of, well, obviously it's Basil, but same thing. Just to like, hey, we don't have time for this. Either you get us out now or just kill us now. Like, and so I don't know. That's so, I just love that he's holding them and goes, smile, everyone. At the very end.
And they're,
So
I love
funny.
that picture of them just like standing there. Yeah, it's so good. Oh yeah, because we didn't mention she is in the glass bottle. Like Fidget trapped her in a glass bottle.
Yeah, that was pretty dark.
She is sitting in that bottle, which with the cork in it. How does she not run out of air? Because mice have lungs.
But like, even when Fidget's hiding in disguise as Olivia in that bottle, that used to freak me out a little bit too.
Yeah, same. Because he turned around and he was like,
did not think it's like, Fidget's creepy, and it's like, I love him, but he's just like, way to just like
comic relief, but he's also scary.
Who do we need as a henchman? Okay, we have a rat, we got mice. Why not a bat? They're rodents. Like, how about a weird looking one without a foot, and just makes like the creepiest voice you ever heard, and just scares you with fangs, and it's creepy. But every once in a while we'll just make them pop up. Kids will like that. Yeah,
we'll love it. I won't be traumatized as an adult.
Where the bleep was the mouse?
If anybody watched the Goldberg, they did an episode where they
that was my favorite episode ever, because I just love a Great Mouse Detective. I'm like, that's even funnier to me. The fact that Grandpa said that. For those who know what we're talking about.
Anyway, let's talk about.
I think we're getting up to the end here.
The final scene, yes.
Yeah.
So they wind up doing a chase where Ratigan is in like a dirigible kind of situation, or like a Zeppelin kind of thing. It's
Well,
like
that thing's
foot powered.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And Fidget is like powering with his feet. And then
This little-
wait, what is Basil chasing him in? I
At the
can't
time,
remember.
they go to Buckingham Palace or whatever they call it. I think it is Buckingham Palace, right? They go to it's like, but it's
Yeah,
like
they're
the
like
floor of
it's
the
like the
rat,
mice
the
version
nice
of
Buckingham Palace.
Buckingham Palace.
They get Toby to get there. They find
Yes.
Toby to meet up with Toby, and Toby, you know, creates stairs out of his ears, which is pretty amazing.
I know. Yes.
Like that dog can do it all. It's like we got nanotechnology and we got stairs as ears.
Ears.
But but he gets Toby to go take him to Buckingham Palace. But then if you're talking about specifically the chasing with the Zeppelin, they do this really awesome, funny invention, which is brilliant though too. They take all the balloons in a matchbox and they just make that into a plane, like a hot air balloon. Like, and it's like, we need to go faster. Just let the air out because that'll work.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? I've never been in math. I don't know
like,
how
cool is that scene? Like, it's just so good. Like to see that chasing, how exciting. Like you see a chasing with, a Zeppelin and a balloon plane, whatever you want to call it, and they're just zooming through the city. Like we see that now, and I'm like, man, this movie was doing that way ahead of its time. I don't, or maybe it was just the animation is so well done for this last act. It's so great.
It's like quick animation. Like you don't see quick animation.
The pacing
like
is
that.
great.
Like
but the pacing is perfect.
Yes, it really is. It's so good. And when Radigan throws Fidget from the Zeppelin, I guess it's a Zeppelin. I don't know what to call it. Whatever, Zeppelin.
Yeah, it is.
It always made me so sad. I'm like, that's so sad. He can't fly. You're crying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that was a great sound effect.
But yeah, it's just like, well, like even the scenes going up to the Zeppelin chase was like when Radigan is getting exposed for his his clone of the Queen Mouse. Yeah. And even that kind of freaked me out, I think, too, a little bit, where he's like that machinery.
That machine was terrifying.
When it has the eyes just kind of popping out. Like there's a lot of weird kind of graphic scenery in that. But yeah, like, I just love how, like, this is like kind of also it's the resolution, but it just kicks off. It's like, he's not done yet. Like, we're going to go into this awesome chase scene, and he's still got to take him down.
He's not going out without a fight.
It's not like, oh, we got the bad guy, he's going to rat jail. No, he's like, he's not giving up. He's like, I'm still going to take whatever I have left.
Catch me now.
Like you got to get me. And it's like, and you're pissing me off, basically. Is when Radigan is getting more pissed off, and it builds and builds and builds, it's so good. Like thinking about it now. Now I'm not gonna say I'll let you kind of take over this part, but
okay.
I think what we're gonna get to at this point, because I think everybody who's seen this movie knows how crazy this last act just got, and it would terrify us all for the rest of our days.
So the scene, they wind up crashing into Big Ben.
Yeah, which is so cool.
That crash always scared me because they didn't show it. They just showed like breaking glass.
Yeah, you're right. And it's
black screen glass.
It's so stylized. I love that. Yeah, they don't just crash and then it's like a hole. It's very like you don't see what happens. Yeah, and you don't know where they are. It's freaky.
Mm-hmm. It's very disorienting, and then it leads
the music too when they get into the gears. Oh my god, it's so creepy.
The gears. So I always was scared by the ticking of the clock itself because it brought you to the size of a mouse to me. Like that ticking was so loud and booming. Like to a mouse, that has to be loud. Like the ticking of a clock and the cogs. Like you're tiny. Yeah. So therefore the
eerie.
sound is probably like really loud. So the ticking of
Right.
the clock at that scene is really,
But
really disturbing.
it's quiet. It's eerie. All you hear is the ticking and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
low, almost whatever. I think it's like a double bass or some kind of instrument coming in there. It's very low. It's like boo, and it's just
Yeah.
killing, and I love it. And just like you don't know what happened. Like you said, they crashed and they're kind of all kind of in a fog a little bit.
Him and
Or
Radigan.
they're actually in
It's
a
only
cog.
Basil and Radigan. They're just like thrown. Basil and Radigan are the only ones that are thrown into
Yeah.
the clock, into Big Ben. So everyone else is outside. So it's only them two. So like it's very disorienting because you don't know where either of them are.
Right. And they don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the camera mainly focuses on Basil because he's the hero of the story. So they want you to see where he is, and they don't want you to know where Radigan is.
Well, it's kind of like, that Radigan has Olivia at that point still, and like he's hiding with her, and he has to find her in this gigantic clock. So it's kind of like a maze itself. And and this kind of ties into, again, what we were discussing in the beginning about how they blended CGI effects with these clocks and animating it that way, which I think works really well in this kind of three-dimensional clock kind of atmosphere that you probably could do somehow in earlier movies some way without it, but I think it wouldn't come off as well as it does in this movie. It's so cool how they did it.
Extremely difficult because how they animate in old school animation is they would have a matte painting in the back, and then they would have
a cell over it,
an animation cell over it. So what you essentially get is that like 3D effect of the animated character popping out from the background. And in this scene, for those of you who are not familiar with it, there's multiple cogs moving at the same time, which would be extremely difficult to animate in the traditional animation cell way, which is why they probably use computer animation. But it's the first time they've ever used the computer animated with traditional animation in front of it. So they have the cogs moving, all the different cogs, because it's not just one, it's multiple in the background, and then they had the animated characters in the hand-drawn animated characters in the front.
On top of that.
Which was never done before in a feature-length movie, at least.
Right. Very challenging, I'm sure, for the animators, but for us, it's a win. Yeah. So,
yeah,
thank you,
I mean,
animators.
It still looks amazing.
I'm thinking like that's CG, and it's good.
Yeah, I mean, they did a phenomenal job. It blends so well too. Like you don't look at it and go, the background is different than the foreground. Like it doesn't. It blends.
Yeah.
So you don't look at it and go like, well, they did something weird back there. Like it looks so amazing.
One thing I want to just say quickly, and I want to just go to the big thing I wanted to talk about with you. But like, it's kind of funny. I think there is Young Sherlock Holmes movie, which is like one of the first times they used CG animation or CG special effects. I think is one of the earlier ones. So I find that kind of like a funny parallel. This movie is one of the earlier CG movies as well. Maybe just because it's just popular of stories, but like I'm just saying, it's just kind of funny thinking about it now. Anyways, that's just my brain.
I don't know what you're talking. Young Sherlock Holmes.
I think there's a movie called Young Sherlock Holmes, and there's like a knight that comes to life at the end of that movie, and he's all CG, and it's like one of those earlier CG special effects that they used in films. So it's one of the earliest one, or not like the first one. It's like very early.
I think like a lot of people, like Tron is the first extensive use of computer generated imagery.
But this is like within the actual real world itself environment, like an actual digital use of animation. So it's kind of interesting to see it that way. Okay, so the big moment I wanted to get to, and you know what it is, right?
No.
Is
what are you gonna say?
The transformation scene of Radigan to Rex.
Yes, to full-blown rat.
Oh my god. I think as a kid,
terrifying.
I knew he's angry. Okay. And I remember it coming up, and I just remember him just struggling, like trying to get his cape off or whatever. but he's just seeing Basil get away, and he's just he's just rat raging. And you see that face of his like, and it's like, and they zoom in on his big yellow eyes, and it's freaky. Even there, it's like, what's gonna happen? And he just goes full rat,
rips his clothes off.
You see the back, when you see the back, you see the back, and his hair is all messed, and those crazy yellow eyes. But then he starts running like a rat. Oh my God! I just remember that part. My heart would drop every time. And he's just like, and I was just like,
oh my God, I'm so glad you brought up that sound effect. He makes that sound effect, and it's so scary.
It's so scary, and he's fast, and you're just like, and I'm thinking like, what were most of my nightmares about? It was like monsters chasing me. So I'm like, this is probably a good reason why my brain is the way it is now, and how it traumatizes me in my sleep once in a while. Last night, anything, okay, but like, no, but like, that is so graphic for a kid to watch. I think, to just like be so surprised that monster scene drops so fast after you see that.
The thing is, though, Chris, he's not a monster. He's a rat. He's not like Godzilla, which is like a thing that we've never seen. Like, but
this is like full monster version of him that we saw almost.
He's a monster version of a rat, Disney which exists in real life.
But he becomes a monster at that point. Like, he's just terrifying. He's getting long claws.
He becomes a monster. So the whole idea of Ratigan is he was so certain he wanted to be king of Mousedom. He didn't like being called a rat. Like, anyone who called him a rat got eaten by a cat. At the end of the movie, he doesn't become a monster. He becomes the rat.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying
so much.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he just like, his look, I'm saying, is just monster effect. I don't mean it in the sense, I know what you're saying. Yeah, underneath the layers of the fact that he was trying to be not what he actually is.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, the horror element of their design for him at that point is just, I'm having some difficulty right now thinking about it.
No, it's scary. It really
scary,
is
but
scary.
I still love it. And I'm thinking, because I'm just, like I said, these are characters that we've grown to love, and we kind of created ourselves. So it's like, we all have a rat somewhere running around in our mind in that sense. So I like having, and it was kind of an epic fight scene. It's like, like on the top of this clock, you said Big Ben, and then, and it's shot so well, like, just the look of it, and the rain is coming, and it's just like, man, it's like you're on the edge of your seat for that whole part.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, it's just like,
falls.
What's going to happen? Yeah.
He falls,
and he's getting knocked up, he's getting his little mouse tail, beat up. And
as a kid, I was like, oh my God, he's
like, and cut up, like those.
Like, he's not going to make it.
He's getting clawed up. Like, it was like, he becomes full saber tooth, at the end of that. And he's just going.
It's not a fight scene where, like, all of a sudden the hero overcomes odds, where he overcomes the villain. He doesn't.
Oh my God.
Basil overcomes nothing. He falls, and he uses his own brain to survive.
Yeah. I just thought of a great mashup. Instead of on top of the Statue of Liberty with Sabretooth and Wolverine, we're going to make it Basil and Ratigan on top of Big Ben.
That's your next art project.
And it's going to be right here when we do the X-Men episode. That's exactly what we're going to do. No, I'm just kidding. But
the music is great in that movie as well.
Hey, listen, we're going to get around to a lot of our favorites. So I'm just thinking, like, just now that just popped in my head, because, like, I just see this, just any similarities to epic fighting like that. So, okay. So and then, Basil somehow has some magic ability again to create flight with
he just takes the wheel and, like,
with this
wing
going up like this. How fast you must be going to make this thing go up.
Sure, I believe it. I'm a child.
Like a helicopter to go this way. I always think that's hysterical. Even like the penguin, he has the umbrella.
Yeah.
Goes up.
Doesn't make any
It's
sense.
powerful. I got a turbine engine in this thing. It's gonna work. I'm just
Doesn't
thinking
make sense,
to myself.
but I believe it.
I do. I believe in everything in these Disney movies.
Oh no,
You just
so
have
true.
to. Yeah, and then that's pretty much the end of the movie.
Yeah, it ends and
We got through a lot of this stuff. Is there anything I skipped over that you wanted to talk about? I think we
not
pretty much hit all the
like
beats.
honestly. I think like the only beat I want to talk about is the very end. So it ends with that voiceover from Dawson, which is absolutely
right.
great.
And like I said, he's the narrator in the beginning as well. Like just like Toby in Spider-Man, which is also available for us on YouTube that we did last time. Plug in.
I will link that video as well. Anyway, I love that he ends. He's the voiceover at the end of the movie, and he says, "Basil, the great mouse detective," at the end of the movie, and it's just like that's great last words of the movie because, I mean, as a kid, you're like, "Why is this movie called The Great Mouse Detective?" And then he voices it over, and you're like, "Yeah." And even today, as an adult, there goes my microphone again. This thing just not.
You got it. Don't worry. That was a good catch. That's 2 in a row.
There we go. It's just such a good end to the movie, and it fades out from the city of London, and it's brilliant. And
and it just sets up
I feel like
their relationship.
It reminded me kind of a little bit of Peter Pan, a little bit of seeing the streets of London from Peter Pan.
And I always felt that way too. Seeing that, I always felt it was the same street.
It was just kind of like an homage to old
they should just put Peter Pan's house right there, or Wendy's house. I mean, right there.
I mean, you could say that, like, what else?
Because you think like Big Ben, and like they would fly around that, and that was kind of a big iconic thing from that movie. So, I was gonna also I think it's really clever the use of like just actual Sherlock Holmes now. Like I don't think I picked up on that. Obviously, when I was younger, it took me, I don't know, years later to learn who Sherlock Holmes was really. Because I think we both were exposed to this first than Sherlock Holmes. I don't know, were you
totally
aware of Sherlock Holmes?
No.
I don't think I knew anything about Sherlock Holmes. So maybe the name was similar. I don't think at all. But to have just, Sherlock Holmes actually be who's living upstairs, like he lives in the but it is based on a book, this movie, correct? I believe.
Yes, there was a book with mice, and I think it was called Basil of Baker Street.
Right. Yes, I think you're right. And I think they say at the end of the film, they say based on the Basil Baker Street stories or something. So that's such a clever idea. Like, let's make them for children. It's the mouse that lives underneath Sherlock Holmes's house that does adventures as well. And I think that's what's so clever about this. And I even love that, just that parallel of like he's underneath Sherlock Holmes's house. Even Watson, I believe in the beginning, is that Watson in the carriage above Watson of Dawson, like underneath?
I think it
so,
is.
it's pretty obvious, but I just like their setup at the end for them to become actual, Basil and Dawson, whatever you want to call it.
I think it speaks a lot to Disney, the fact that they didn't make a sequel to this movie. I think it speaks a lot to the fact that
TV show I could see too. That would be a great TV show.
I would love to see it now. I think it speaks a lot to the fact that they didn't think this movie was like.
Who would they get to like voice them,
I mean, they replaced Kermit the Frog. They can replace. David Tennant did Scrooge McDuck, so like they can find something.
True. It's Olivia's dad.
I would watch it.
That's
honestly,
a different show.
Watch it.
Just called.
I've watched a couple episodes of the DuckTales remake, so like I would watch it. If they did Darkwing Duck.
Where'd you go? I can't see you. Okay. There you are. Okay.
I would watch if they did Darkwing Duck again. I would be.
Yeah. Well, today was like nostalgia day. I don't know about you. I got all these links and articles today about every movie from the 90s coming back like as a sequel, like Ace Ventura,
you sent me the Ace
Mighty
Ventura.
Ducks,
Oh,
But yeah, there's so many things today. I felt it was just like, okay, just keep bringing them.
we
Run
could do
out
a
of
whole
ideas.
rant on this.
I know. But anyways,
But
back to what I was saying
we'll just be nostalgic and
with the
we'll
shows.
talk about our memories.
This movie. What else do we do? But yeah, like I said, it's cute also with just Olivia and him just like calling her Miss Flangerhanger. It's so great.
He always says her name wrong.
But I like how he was about to say it right, but he just knew that it was just the right thing to do to call her by the wrong name.
Say it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. I love that.
And he like gets Dawson to stay, and it's brilliant. And honestly, it is a really awesome setup for something else. But honestly, I'm glad they never did anything else.
I was gonna say this movie's
in my
too classic.
imagination.
I would. I think a TV show would have been fun for kids if they put it on a Disney Channel, like they did with like Aladdin. Almost every
but Aladdin
show
was a huge movie, and this was not a huge movie.
Right. I was gonna say, but why would they merchandise something that they didn't like already have a huge following, a good successful box office with? But
yeah.
It was kids' movies. It was a different time though, too. I don't know if a lot of people were doing much back then for kids' movies. There wasn't much to go see, I don't think, around that time. Maybe there was, but not Disney. Disney, like you said, Disney was in this transitional period at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Disney was transitioning, and like I think after Black Cauldron, they fired their like CEO. Like this is around when Michael Eisner took over too,
right,
to revive a little bit of the Disney brand.
Yeah, I think they were trying to do a lot of original material with very little original material that was known, if that makes sense.
And again, my argument where this ushered in that original idea concept. So,
so what do you give this movie?
I'm not the only one who thinks this.
So, I think we're that's our wrap for the story for our review, I believe. I think, and we wanted to do one other thing before we sign off.
Yeah, I think we wanted to do a couple of impressions. I'm not good at impressions, so I'm going to do mine first.
Well, how about this? Just say like a favorite quote or favorite moment. Like, I mean, we did already talk about them within the scenes, but like if there was a favorite line or quote, try to do it in your best impression. I have a couple of my favorite little, I don't know, they're just like little things in it, but you can go ahead, do a few, and then
my favorite, I already did it, and I'll do it again. But it's
so good.
I love it. It's my favorite. It's the only impression I'm semi good at. What about you? What do you got, Chris?
So I know this is one of your favorites. I did it for you the other night where he goes, it's Fidget, and he goes, "Doors, get girl. Oh no, not the girl." And then he sings something like later with that where he's just like, "Got your shoulder, is got the girl." He's singing like that song like later.
He sings the list, but he sings it,
So okay, so this was kind of an obscure one. I think, did I do this for you the other day? I think so. But it's when it's okay, so it's actually I don't know if I did for you, but it's like, so Olivia's alone in the boot. She's hiding. It's like in the beginning, like in Dawson first meets her and hears her crying. And he goes, "But where are your mother and father?" And she goes like, "That is why I need to find Basil." And then he goes, "Da, da, 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 da." I love when he does that. Oh, da, 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 da. Now, I don't know any Basil, but I do know where Baker Street is. I keep thinking that is the Sultan from Aladdin is the voice of him. Is it? I kind of hear the similarities in their voices. Maybe we gotta check that out after this.
Maybe we have to check that.
Yeah, because I love the voice of the Sultan in Aladdin and him just going,
because Aladdin came out in what, 1991?
But you're so old. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think you're right.
It might be the same actor. It might be the same voice actor.
Around that time, right?
Yeah.
It's Disney and the same director, so it could be that guy. Yeah. It sounds similar. I just like when he goes that. Oh, and then he goes like, There's another. I think Dawson might be one of my favorite like mice characters in this movie because I just when he goes like, "Oh, jolly good, jolly good."
I was gonna say, could you please do an impression of him when he's drunk?
Yeah, no, I love when he's like, they're drunk. And he's like, "Oh, jolly good." What was my other one? Oh, oh yeah, I didn't do it when he goes like, "Finish it, Flabbersham." it was Radican. So funny when he says Flabbersham. And then of course our favorite line, we already kind of did, but he goes, "Toby," and then he goes like, "Wait, what does he say it?" Where Basil, he goes like, he says something. He goes like, we're off, and then they go, and you hear Basil like laughing in the background. He's like, "Aha, aha." It's like he's like, I forget where it is.
Oh, is that when he's on his tail?
Yeah, he's like on it. He's like,
yes.
It's like Basil laughing.
I don't know what Basil says to him, and he's like, "How are you back? How are you, Basil, or whatever?" I don't know. And Basil's like he says, riding Toby's tail.
Yeah. It's so I love the voice acting in this movie. It's so good.
It's really good, but I think it's like it's a rare occasion of voice acting where these are the actual actors using their actual voices, and it's not voice actors putting on a voice. Really?
That's what's funny to me because I guess I don't know any of these actors really, except for maybe Vincent Price, and I didn't know him obviously at the time, but like for being known. But I think like there's so many unique voice acting being done for all the different characters, specifically like I was gonna say, you have Fidget, like sounds like this creepy bat, and then you got like Dawson, a very like soft-spoken English mouse, and then you got this cute little girl, and it's just like, I don't know, there's a lot of dynamics. I feel like that works for this movie for me, anyways. That's why I love it.
No, it's definitely
Toby. That name was brilliant choice.
I know Toby will always melt my heart.
Toby.
Oh.
Oh, he's peck like a bat. Broken me. Sit, Toby. So cute. All right, I think that'll do it, right?
I think that's it.
This was a good one. I mean, I feel bad because I feel like we could talk about it all day because it's just like it warms our hearts.
Mm-hmm. It really does. It's such a great movie, and I think it gets a bad rap because it again was made.
Yeah, and it's fun to find people like yourself, and people I've met who really, really are passionately, in love with this movie. So it's like, because I think like I bond with it, and like I think I have a special connection with it, and I feel like it's probably not for everybody, but I love that I like it so much, and it's just for me. And then I find out like there's so many fans of this movie, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not alone, Yeah, because I didn't think it had that much of a following or people knew about it. It's kind of under the radar of a Disney movie, and it's so good. So I'm like, I kind of like the fact that nobody really knows about it too. Something special about that. It's very unique, and it's so well done. Yeah.
I like to like things that people don't like.
I may go watch it again after this. I may have to throw it back on. Yeah. Oh, hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Are you there? Sorry. That was my battery going. So it's time to go.
I think it's time to leave. I think we've talked enough about this movie.
Yes.
Until next week, we'll be
my low battery.
my low Radigan. We'll see you guys next week where we talk about yet another exciting movie.
If you have any idea what you want us to review, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know
we're gonna keep picking them.
Movie you want us to review. Let us know any drinks you want us to try. Let us know your opinion of any of the movies we talked about.
Sounds good.
But yeah. For now, we're signing off. Your friends in time.